Tanzania to help low-income patients in Tanzania by building clinics and staffing them. And so there's a lot of latitude to do things. You just have to sit down and talk.
So it seems to me that the pharmacists are the unsung heroes that are ready, willing, and able to help, but maybe sometimes, I mean, we are not organized for it. There was an article in New England Journal of Medicine in July 2013 that showed that Health Partners of Minnesota connects their pharmacists by phone to patients who have wireless home blood pressure monitors. So the patient doesn't have to leave their home. The information is transmitted to a pharmacist, say at HealthNet, and they titrate the medications over the phone. No doctor's visit required. And they improve their numbers so significantly, and that's what Kaiser does. They do, they use pharmacists over the phone instead of the face-to-face. I mean, there are a lot of different models for it. But maybe that's a muscular approach, like you were saying. If you want to use medications appropriately, often it's the pharmacist that knows the array of options better. And Steve Chen, who really meant to be here today, the pharmacy professor who started hosting us with Dr. LaVonna Blair Lewis a few years ago, he demonstrated that if you bring patients into a barber shop and have their blood pressure taken at a barber shop, as the on-ramp to connecting to a pharmacist to titrate their medications for blood pressure, they've seen phenomenal results. So, you know, maybe there are certain things that different people on the care team can really excel at, and maybe from your work in the British Health Service, you could tell us, I don't understand anything on what is the right ratio of a team. I think Kaiser centers do it differently, but maybe that's something that we need to look at. Dr. Hassanpour, do you have any ideas of thoughts of where to focus in LA? I mean, in San Diego, it really was the troika of those three control measures: cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, and I don't think any one of them had a higher importance, although the poly pill is just a whole lot easier than managing insulin.
I think the challenge in California than geography is the nature of the networks. That they are, many of them, very different types of practices underneath them. So you have layers of providers and the medical director above them, and then the health net or health plans. It's hard to reach the individual providers to make changes in practice. That's where we're thinking of this practice transformation, going directly to the provider. It might be, and that was going to be one of my questions earlier about San Diego. What is it about San Diego that was different in my slide, and I saw on the CIA slide, San Diego was not any better than the rest of California, so I was wondering what happened there. But I think the network of providers are different in San Diego. You have a few very large groups. In LA, you have many small groups, and it's much more difficult to reach them.
That's been my challenge, because in San Diego, I could go to UCSD, Sharp, Scripps, Kaiser, the VA, and the Navy, and that was the whole thing. And you know, there's art and there's multicultural. We invited them to, and they come on a regular basis. So the whole leadership of the delivery systems consistently would come, and they were driven by that big, hairy, audacious idea out of Good to Great, which is Tony DeMaria basically set a goal of 0 heart attacks, heart attack and stroke free zone San Diego, and he really caught the attention of the physicians. I mean, we are certainly, he's very willing and able to come and lead the challenge here, but I think part of the magic of what we need here is a leader who is willing to, I mean, to sort of shepherd it locally. Carol can do that certainly, but she's new to the community, so.
I think we need somebody who has the connections, and, you know, I'd certainly be happy to help with the quality improvement aspects, but I think you need the local connections, that's important. Particularly when it's so complex, but it does strike me that we're talking about, you know, if you can shift that everybody, then you probably pull the people at the end up, so if you know, Kaiser, UCLA, and Cedars, and some, you know, network around USC could all shift a bit, then probably all the other people will come along. We could create an energy, a story in Los Angeles, you know, let's speak San Diego, or some sort of slogan, you know, that we can all push in that direction. We may not be able to engage all these small groups down here, but if everybody goes that way, then we'll probably, and then you can start targeting patients about, is your doctor doing this for you, and shifted it for all these people.
It's worth doing, because we've seen heart attacks fall in San Diego by 20% since we instituted this intensive work, whereas in the state they've fallen by 6%. So, and that will be published this year in the American Journal of Managed Care. So the question is, how do we really scale it? And, you know, with the challenges here of, as you said, a different formulation, you know, maybe that's a conversation to be continued, but I think what Carol said, working off the law of large numbers, if you get USC, UCLA, Cedars, Kaiser's at the 90th percentile on this particular, on blood pressure, but you've got a long way to go on some other measures. Blood sugar is your big challenge right now. So how would we go about, in this community, getting those major institutions?
Well, I think we've got to get leadership buy-in. We've got to have the data, and then go to the organisational leaders and say, if we set this up, are you going to support us and send teams? And, you know, we can come up with a program, we can come up with the data, but we're going to need senior buy-in to say this is important, and I will free people up to go and do this. And I'll be looking at the data every 6 months to see how we're doing.
Is there a possibility of sort of that small crock pot in San Diego of the 3 to 5-ish? Just what you mentioned about 5-ish up here, and maybe another 1 or 2 I can think of as large groups. Is there a way to, through this venue, maybe get them together as another crock pot? That doesn't sound good, I'm not a cook, so
I would love your help with that. We've had some change at UCLA. You notice there's no one from UCLA in this room. We had the Quality Improvement Medical Director for UCLA co-leading with us until he decided that the quality of life in Nashville was much better, and he left. They have not refilled their Quality Improvement Medical Director position, and so getting the right leader from UCLA who can do that work, it's not clear to me who that is, and that's often the case with a UC or a USC. In these academic environments, who's in charge of improving these measures? And you who negotiate with the medical groups probably have a better idea of that. So I know that we've kept you all past the 2 o'clock hour. I'm willing to stay and talk as long as anyone wants to. But I think that face-to-face meetings are essential. And I personally, you know, I did that at the beginning. I met with the UCLA folks, but now they've all changed. So one of the challenges here is that people keep changing. People keep changing jobs. Yes.
Penny, as a peer, you know, when you have a collaborative or an initiative like I did, there's always a challenge that HealthNet is doing it one way, LHR is doing it another way. You know, Kaiser's so integrated that they don't have some of these challenges, but all the other peers are doing it a different way. I mean, lighter confusion, and then dilution and outcomes, right? So I'm trying to collaborate, with some of the payers, or wherever there's collaborative see either we can piggyback off them or they can piggyback back off us.
So we have the Heart Association with us, and could you just say something about your blood pressure campaign for LA?
Yes. So we have a hypertension campaign called Target BP, a new national hypertension initiative with the American Medical Association, and also working with the CDC, and we just got a more formalized partnership with the Million Hearts campaign as well. We want everybody to get to control, 70% control by 2020. We just launched this last year. So I actually have a new role. I am actually the lead for hypertension for the Western States Affiliate, which is the 10 states. So we are working with, really to get a lot of the different systems, hospitals, providers. And this could be one of the simple steps that we have as a group, is just to sign up to commit that you want to be at that 70% control rate for hypertension. Just within Target BP, there's a myriad of resources for the providers in terms of whatever level you're at. And that could be just a simple step, just that first initial recognition. If we want internal competitions around the different providers, we can do that as well. Our data is published every week. We also look at where you're at every month, but the end result is we look to see where you're at the end of 10 months. So that could be the initial step, and then we can talk about, subsequent steps after that. So that's an opportunity as well.
So maybe we can build you into the next agenda, and you can ask people for commitments that they sign.
Yes,
Or-
that would be great.
I think Jean touched on something. I think when you have one or two things that everybody's doing the same way, and I think that's one of the reasons why IHI are quite successful, because they're very simplistic, the things they ask people to do. And I saw when the UK moved away from that kind of collaborative to more research-based science safety collaboratives, I don't think they're so effective because people can do their own thing. And I think if you get one or two things that you sign up, that it doesn't matter whether you're CDERS or Kaiser, you're going to do this, simple messages, then we can work together as a group to see how we make that happen. If everybody's doing something different, you lose that group learning.
So one thought I have is if we were looking for something very simple to do, maybe the payers could look at their data, and some other partners in the room could look at their data about the patients who are diagnosed and only occasionally picking up their medication. I mean, maybe that's an easy target, is to look at for your heart patients and your hypertension and your diabetes patients, who's not consistently picking up the medications. That maybe that's a baby step. Is that?
I think some of the groups are already, because that's part of the Part D measure. And so for Monarch, we're in Orange County. And so that's part of the Part D measure. And actually a lot of the health plans are already sending us the list of patients that actually there's pre-chronic areas like the hypertensive, antihypertensive medications, the oral diabetics, and the ACEs. So they are sending us actually the list of patients that may be non-compliant based on the definition of, as far as PDCs or proportional days coverage. So we are actually actively making sure that we're reaching out to those patients. So I think a lot of the payers are already doing to some of the medical groups. I'm not sure they're doing it, I'm sure it's doing it throughout.
So Jeff Mason is not with us today, United Medical Director that's talked to us in the LA Forum last year about maybe using some of the data that you get from ICD-10 codes. So I'm not sure, let's have an offline discussion about what data you have and how we can collaborate around driving some change with the existing data. I could never quite understand what, it was too new. He wasn't sure how the ICD-10 information was going to shape up because it's the new data set. That might be a place to go. Lord, did you have something you want to say? Lord Serino from Ralph's.
No, I just wanted to echo what Jean was saying. You know, we're also getting that data from various health plans through our medication therapy management cases, and so those are fed through us through the third-party programs that we work with. But it's increasingly more common, and adherence obviously is very much a big part of that. So we're getting the same thing from them. If they want to increase their ratings, and we actually at Ralph's we have. We're a member of the Pharmacy Quality Alliance, so we know our outcomes ratings for these different measures as well for community pharmacy. So it's something that's a definite focus for us. It has been, and this year it's going to be a big focus just because dollars are tight right now from our end.
So in San Diego, the formula that they used was everybody agreed to use the same hypertension protocol, and it was basically the Kaiser protocol tweaked slightly. In Sacramento, same thing. How we get that out to the front lines, and I think our partner with the Heart Association is really working on that piece here. But getting the protocols to be used. And just maybe the health plans can help with surveying your medical groups to see, for instance, do they know about the difference in the proper medication for African Americans? I think that was a little bit embarrassing for the physicians of Sacramento to learn that, oh wow, the medical directors looked and said, gee, we thought this was really common knowledge, and it isn't. So some of that basic training is really important. We didn't think we would solve the answer today, but we're on our way. Thank you so much. That was beautiful, Carol and Lavona.